You're with Brad Scott with BS with Joe.
Yep.
Now, Joe, this is part 2
Yes.
of DOGE.
DOGE and taxes.
Yes.
All right. So, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of backlash. Chuck Schumer, for example, has said that Elon Musk and Trump have created a shadow government that was unelected. That's not true.
That's not true. We elected Trump, and Trump is using Elon as a means, as an advisor. And you,
Yes.
as a president, you could have any advisor you want.
Exactly.
You don't have to be elected by the Senate or any government.
Right.
And all Elon is doing is having the books opened up for him so he could look into it and go, oh, there's a problem here. There's a problem here. Where'd this $1 trillion go? Nobody can find it.
$2 billion worth of gold went through the EPA?
Yeah, why is the EPA dealing with gold?
Absolutely no reason to.
Right.
No, what does that have to do with environmental protection?
Right. There's a YouTuber, God, Family, and Guns. He constantly is a watchdog for where's rounds going to. Well, it went into all these different, like thousands of rounds and guns, machine guns and other things, went into these government agencies like Housing and Development, things like that. What the hell do they need machine guns for?
Right. I used to follow that a little bit, and I just got disgusted because I did follow it, and I saw that tiny little towns are getting SWAT vehicles and riot gear, and there's no reason for it. Absolutely no reason for it.
Well, you look at, the biggest person that should be supporting us talking about this and why they shouldn't have all this is Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the whole things on why they started is they wanted the police state gone.
They wanted to defund the police, and that was a lot of the fact that the police have been militarized.
Right. Now, I do want police, and I do want them to do police work.
Of course.
For violent crimes and acts, of people that need grievances.
I completely support the thin blue line.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they need to be treated like the military.
Especially small towns.
Right.
Or like the,
do we need a SWAT team? Yes. We
Yes.
need a SWAT team.
But the IRS doesn't.
No.
The IRS just needs to audit, and then what they need to do is then get a hold of a local government.
Exactly. Same with the ATF. If the ATF needs to raid somebody, get with the local police department, have them help you.
Yeah. And speaking of which, any of the sheriffs that are pro 2A and say we're not going to support them, and then has their governor and House make a law saying, we're a pro 2A state, guess what? The ATF has a real hard time getting them to deal with a lot of that stuff.
They do.
Which I support those counties and those states.
I support the 10th Amendment completely. But yeah, I mean, and that's my opinion on that. Same with the FBI. The FBI agents don't need to be conducting raids.
No.
They need to just do their investigations and then go to the police and let the local police deal with it. Let the local sheriff's department deal with it.
They should be...
Will they be charged with a federal crime? Yes. Once they're in custody, the FBI agents can take them off to wherever to face their federal judge.
Right, and that's also why I'm saying we don't need this huge government.
We don't.
We don't. They just need to be investigators, auditors, and looking into things, and then going to the local municipality and saying, hey, work with us on this.
Exactly. And I understand that a lot of the local municipalities are like, these guys are coming in here and trying to take over our jobs. No. You guys need to work together, just like the FBI and CIA should be working together, not hiding information from each other.
Right, because the CIA can't conduct investigations in the U.S.
The FBI is not supposed to conduct investigations outside the U.S.
Right, but they're both all over the place.
Yeah,
the CIA, if they're ever caught investigating us, it's a big no-no.
Snowden kind of blew the cover on that.
Yeah, because they are. Anyone who doesn't think they are,
They're legally not supposed to.
yeah. But, the thing is, does our government do things they're not supposed to? Apparently. And
A
the
lot
left,
of things they're not supposed to.
yeah, and the left is all on fire because they're trying to stop Trump on doing things that he's legally and obligated to do because he was voted in to do those things.
Right. So, the polls have come out.
No, yeah.
And it's interesting because if you watch CNN, ABC, or Fox, is it Fox? No, not Fox. The other one,
MSNBC.
They all say that Trump's the worst president ever, and his polling is horrible. But if you switch it over to the conservative side with Fox and whoever else is on the conservative side, they're saying, Trump's the best president ever.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the same polls.
The thing is, everybody could look at the same painting and have a different impression on what that painting paints.
Well, I can tell you, I've seen the poll numbers because I looked them up myself. I'm not going to trust a media outlet.
Mm-hmm.
I looked them up myself, and Trump's numbers right now, after his first month, are higher than he'd ever been in his first term, and absolutely blowing Biden out of the water.
Oh, that wouldn't be.
The only thing that Americans are not happy about is the January 6th pardons. 8 out of 10 are not happy about that. 80%. So
80%.
they did not like that.
Really?
Yes. And it's the violent offenders that were pardoned that they don't like. And I don't really have a problem with that. If they committed a violent offense during the January 6th riot, they should serve the time for that violent offense.
Right, but if you were to look at all the people who committed the actual violent offenses, that was very slim to none.
Right.
There may have been 1 out of 250 people that committed any kind of violent offense.
Right.
And with that, all right, let me ask you this. Or anyone from that who feel that they didn't like that. How did you feel about Kenosha, Wisconsin burning down? And people getting injured and livelihoods being destroyed? Were you favorable in that? No. Now with this, more lives were destroyed by people going after January 6ers.
Yeah.
How many suicides did people who were afraid of going to prison?
Just because they were at the Capitol Hill at that time.
Yes. And if you investigate that. How many people committed suicide?
Right.
Just because they were afraid to go to prison.
I think I touched a nerve with Brad.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but anyone who goes
I'm just
somewhere,
telling you what the numbers say.
right. But I am frustrated with that, and I always have, because those individuals,
A lot of those people didn't need to be prosecuted at all.
yeah, many of them probably didn't even need to be
Not to
investigated.
mention the fact that the entire January 6th debacle was fabricated by the Democratic Party in order to try and frame Trump.
Oh yeah, well, and not only that, but Nancy Pelosi didn't even allow the protection agencies to go in there and do a lot of that. I honestly
She
think
blocked the National Guard from being called in. She talked the DC police chief down a couple of times from even responding to it.
yeah.
She orchestrated it. She's one of the people. And her and Chuck Schumer and Liz Cheney, I think that Liz Cheney's already facing charges. AOC's facing charges.
Good.
Yeah. Pelosi's on the block. She's being investigated by Kash Patel's team.
Yeah. We need accountability. Because
And I'm not saying we need to attack these people because they're Democrats. We need to go after these people that are committing crimes in office.
because we need to send a clear message that this can't happen anymore.
Right.
Because with January 6th, this is the way I feel about January 6th. Now, you guys can feel your own ways, but this is why it struck a nerve with me. Is because with January 6th, there was a lot of lives ruined. You have a group. This group, they're known as the Oath Keepers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think they're far right or they're racist or whatever.
A lot of them were cops and firefighters.
Mm-hmm. Either retired or currently are.
Yeah.
And they're just a part of an organization, a very patriotic organization.
Mm-hmm.
And because they take an oath, and they believe in that oath so much that they're going to do whatever it takes.
Or former military that have taken an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and
Yeah,
domestic.
they could have been ex-military or retired military, and they're part of the Oath Keepers.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I could never become an Oath Keeper member because I've never taken an oath like that. And those individuals are patriots. Now, what they did during January 6th, all right, and this is fact, look it up. They went in, and they were like, whoa, what's going on? And then they see police officers having issues with January 6th members. And they see these scared police officers, and they were prior probably in some of these positions. Mm-hmm. So what they do, they went and they go, okay, we're going to help him out. Let's protect the wall around this police officer. Mm-hmm. Let's help him out. Let's get him out safe. Let's start fixing some of these things that are going on. And so they literally helped the police. Mm-hmm. And how were they rewarded?
They were prosecuted.
They were prosecuted. They were put in prison.
Yeah.
They have sentences.
Yeah.
Now, these individuals are possibly or could have been law enforcement, firefighters, retired military, and their lives are ruined.
Yeah.
Ruined.
They all lost their jobs.
They possibly have lost their marriages.
Well, yeah, that's possible too. Yeah.
You know, a lot of them committed suicide.
So, according to what I've learned, DOGE has maybe done 5% of the digging that they need to do. And we're already, how much did they saved? 500 million?
Yeah, something like that. If you look at the debt clock, there's actual DOGE counter on there now, mm-hmm. and you could actually look at the exact amount, and it's going up just like the debt clock.
Right. But like I said, he's maybe looked at 5%.
Yeah.
There's so much more waste that he can find.
And he's fighting.
He said he was going to find $1 trillion by when?
I don't know.
By next year, I think.
By next year.
Yeah. I think he's going to do it.
Oh, he easily could do it.
Yeah.
Right now, they've asked where'd this $1 trillion go in a lot of these different things.
Right.
And they go, we don't know.
Is there any gold in Fort Knox?
Well, we don't know. He wants to do an audit of Fort Knox.
So does Trump.
Yeah, we should.
The
Hasn't
last
been
time,
audited.
Yeah, the last time Fort Knox was audited was in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And at that time, they only looked at 7% of the gold.
Yeah. So
they didn't do a true audit.
Yeah. Why hasn't there been an audit of Fort Knox?
Yeah.
You know. And I think what it is, they're afraid to do an audit of Fort Knox.
Well, I was watching a sort of a documentary on Fort Knox and the possibility of an audit. And there's actually a legitimate concern that there's no gold left. It's all gone. Because a lot of the gold that was in Fort Knox was being held by the United States for other governments.
Yeah. Well, and this is the way governments used to trade. They used to trade in gold. Mm-hmm. And or futures or commodities.
When World War II happened, France, Belgium, Austria, Poland, they all sent their gold to the United States for safekeeping.
Yeah.
And we just kept it. It's theirs, but we were holding it. And Fort Knox is not the only place. There's like 8 different depositories in the United States that hold gold. But Fort Knox had 4,000 tons, I think, of gold at one time.
Yeah, there's an image, I think, from the 50s where they talked about the seal for Fort Knox was made entirely of gold. That goes to show you how much gold there was possibly at Fort Knox.
Yeah.
And the thing is with we used to be a part of the gold standard before we went to the Federal Reserve, which is a corporation and not.
Yeah, I don't understand how we could possibly give away control of our economy to a private company.
Right.
It's
It is a private company, and it isn't. The thing is, the Federal Reserve, what it is it prints money when the government wants it.
I know.
And that's all they do.
I feel like there is a tremendous opportunity for fraud.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Whoever's in control of the Treasury, which is technically the Fed,
It's a committee.
a committee,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that get to decide what they print, how much, what's the interest rate, and all this other stuff. And I think the biggest reason why the left doesn't want taxes being abolished is because they're going to lose their control to spend. Because there's going to be more accountability, because it's like, okay, well, we spend all this money, how are we going to reduce this?
Right.
How are we going to reduce that?
Who was it? Clinton that wanted to audit the Fed?
Possibly.
I think it was Bill Clinton, and that just got shoved right underneath the rug. It just disappeared.
And that's the thing is Clinton, he's done a lot of bad things.
He did some good things.
He did some good things, but here's the thing. I think the good that he did was all a not a disguise, but a way to undermine what was going on to allow a different way of fraud to happen.
Well, we're getting a little off topic here, but
Yeah.
the problem with the Clinton administration is they did not control the House and Senate.
No, they didn't.
He had to appease the other side of the aisle all the time.
And that's how he did it.
Yeah.
He did good things because he had to appease the other aisle.
Yeah.
I know we're running a little close to our time, so let's try to wrap this up.
Doge's got a long way to go.
They got a long way to go,
Yeah.
and they don't need to be hindered, because and I don't understand why American people don't want Doge to continue and do these audits.
Because they're being gaslit by the Democrats.
Yeah, and
Anybody that doesn't want anybody that doesn't want to find the fraud and waste in our government is guilty of the fraud and waste, in my opinion. Like I said before, if you're walking around smelling crap everywhere you go, check your shoes.
that's why all of the mainstream media, they're all attacking Doge. The judges are attacking Doge.
Well, the media is attacking Doge because they're paid off by the left.
Right, and I also think some of the judges have some sort of fundraising or contributions from the left.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. And I'd be willing to bet that the gravy train is in danger of being cut off.
Yeah, it should be.
And that's why they're flipping out.
Because one of the things that made America separate from all of the European countries was the fact that we weren't oligarchs.
Right.
Because all the European countries, they kind of became oligarchs from monarchies because they had to have lords and barons and all this other stuff to keep the monarchy in check. Or not in check, but keep them supported, keep them propped up. And they became the oligarchs. Especially when they decided, oh, well, we can't keep this up anymore because America just kind of exposed us as tyrants. So we're going to create a parliament.
But
And
the United States is on its way to becoming an oligarchy.
It is. It already is an oligarchy. With all the politicians that have been in office for generations.
Right.
We're in an oligarchy.
That's another thing that Trump wants is the term limits, and that's yet another thing that isn't within his control. That's why he hasn't done it, because it's not part of the executive branch.
No, it has, and it's hard to put that into how to get term limits for congressmen and senators because they're the ones that have to vote for it.
And the reason I keep bringing up these things that are not under his control is because I've heard so many people on the other side of the aisle saying, he's not, he's not withholding, or he's not keeping up his campaign promises, especially with the overtime taxes. When he put out his tax referendum as an executive order, that wasn't there. And they're like, oh, well, he's not keeping his campaign promises. You don't understand. And, well, actually, you probably do understand, and you're trying to hide it or steer people a different
away
direction.
from it. Yeah.
He wants that, but that's not how it's going to be done.
No.
Because he can't do it that way.
No, I think...
And he's following the Constitution.
He is following the Constitution. The only way that I honestly think that we'll have term limits for congressmen or senators is to have... It's on the tip of my tongue. It's...
Convention of States?
Convention of States. Thank you, Joe. Convention of States. I think that's the only way it'll ever happen. It needs to happen. Otherwise, we're going to continue with its oligarchy state.
At this point in time, because I've been following the Convention of States, at this point in time, I think they're only 3 or 4 states short.
They are. Now, what scares me about Convention of States, that's when amendments can be rewritten or written into law.
Right.
And
they can basically take over the Congress and say, you're not in charge anymore.
Yes. Not only that, but
well, they can't. Not exactly. They can audit Congress, basically.
they can audit Congress, but they can change all the amendments
They can.
in our Constitution. The only thing they cannot change is our Bill of Rights.
They can't change the basic structure.
Yeah. And they could rewrite the Second Amendment.
They could.
That's how powerful a Convention of States is.
Right.
But that's the only way to get rid of the oligarchies that we have.
Yeah.
Because the barons, and this is why I want to go on this, and finish that whole thing about the barons and the monarchies, and the reason why they started a parliament is because who do you think led the parliaments back in the day? All the barons and lords.
Of course. And they're trying to make the people think that they have a say. The people didn't have a say. The people never had a say.
Mm-mm.
Like right now, people really don't have much of a say in what happens in our government.
No.
Although Trump is trying very hard to give it back to us.
He is. And the proof in that
And
is...
they don't like it.
Right. And the proof of that is, I honestly think January 6th.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, they were here, they did this. Oh, let's imprison them all. Oh, we don't have to worry about the Fifth Amendment, giving them, we'll just hold them almost indefinitely until, they were pardoned, and they still didn't want to release them.
Right. I know.
And we'll end it with that, because we ran a little long. But we need DOGE.
We do. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Oh, do good, or do good things, and try to stop evil.
Okay. We'll get that eventually.
Yes.
Sooner or later, it's just going to pop and click.